What up? What up? Before I get started, I wore this shirt specifically to promote my friend's podcast, and now you can't actually see it in the frame. So, Screenwriters Rant Room, it's my buddy Hilliard's podcast. It's really good. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Screenwriters Rant Room. Today, I want to talk about notes, how to get them, and more importantly, how to give them. And I will start with how to get them. And I don't mean like, I'm not doing like when someone gives you a note, sit up straight, look appreciative. That's not my point here. Uh, First off, I think there's this like misconception that notes are like a bad thing. And I mean, I guess like inherently, if you're getting a note, it means that you like did something wrong or something wasn't perfect. But like in what we do, nothing is ever going to be perfect. People are always going to have some sort of opinion about it. Don't ever expect to send something out and someone's going to say, it's perfect, it's great, no notes. If you get to like your 10th draft or something, then maybe like everyone's just kind of worn out and they're like, yeah, it's perfect. I think that more so just means like we've all gotten to a place that we agree that it's good enough. We're not going to give any other notes. So, just in general, anytime you're getting a note, you just have to be able to ask yourself honestly, like, are they right? Like, you're going to get notes, and at first you're going to be annoyed and be like, that's annoying. But once you get over that, you have to be able to ask yourself, like, honestly, like, is this person right? Is the note right? With notes, not only are they not a bad thing, but getting notes is a good thing. And I'll tell you what I mean. The people who are going to give you notes are all very busy people, whether it's a manager or an agent or a showrunner on a show, or like, if you have a writer friend who's agreed to read your script or whatever, who's a little bit higher up on the food chain than you are. They're all very busy people. So for them to take the time to give you notes it's a big thing. So if they read your script and it's like a disaster, they're like, well, I'm not gonna. It's the script is not going to be fixed by giving this person page notes. So I'm not going to waste my time doing that. They'll probably just give you some kind of like generic response, like, love to read, still needs some work. I don't know. I don't know what they would say, but they're not going to take the time to give you specific notes because the script is a mess. So if you're getting notes, it means that you are sort of worth being noted. So like, if you're a writer on a TV show, one, you're probably not listening to this because you're probably sort of beyond the information that I'm divulging here. But if you ever do become a writer on a TV show, writers on TV shows are lumped into different buckets. There's lower levels, mid levels, and upper levels. At the lower level, which is like staff writer, story editor, and executive story editor, you're generally not going to get notes. Depending on the showrunner, most showrunners are not going to give you notes at that level. It's not because you suck or anything like that. It's because you're gonna turn in your draft, they're gonna take a look at it, and then they're gonna give it to their upper levels to rewrite. Because they just don't have the time to give you notes, know that you're gonna turn it in, it's probably still not gonna be quite right. They just don't have the time with the production schedule and everything. Generally, they're just gonna take your script and give it to the upper levels to rewrite. So don't be offended or surprised if you don't get notes at the lower level. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's just sort of how the system, kind of works. If you're a mid-level, I think that it's a little different where it's like, if you're getting notes, you should take that as a huge compliment, because what the showrunner is saying is like, I think that you're capable of executing these notes and getting the script to where I want it to be. If you're not getting notes, that doesn't again necessarily mean that you're a bad writer or whatever. It just, again, it depends on the showrunner, but it may just mean they just want to give it to their upper levels or whatever, or it may mean that you kind of miss the mark and they don't think you're going to be able to bring it to where it needs to be with notes. It also, I don't want to get too bogged down here, but it also, a lot of times it's like the showrunner will approve the break of a story you'll execute that story, and then they'll see like, oh, it's not anything the writer did wrong. It's just this is not the way the story should have been broken, and now we don't really have time for them to go back and start over. Either I have to write it or one of my upper levels has to write it. So that's kind of, I don't know, a general of how notes work when you're on a TV show. This all came up. This whole idea of doing this bit about notes and all this stuff kind of came up because I had this situation, and the headline is, when you are a writer, you kind of have to be like the CEO or the showrunner of your own work. I'm talking about your own writing samples. If you're on a show, you are not the CEO of your own work. The showrunner is. You do what the showrunner tells you to do. If it's your pilot or your feature or whatever it is, ultimately you kind of have to be the CEO of you kind of have to have the final say. And I kind of lost track of that a little bit with a sample and a story I'm going to tell you. So I was with a manager who I'm not with anymore, and this isn't why I'm not with that manager anymore. And it's not that he's bad. It just I had a procedural writing sample, and I also had a darker, more cable-y sample that he wasn't a huge fan of, but he liked the procedural sample. So he really wanted the procedural sample to be able to fit to like satisfy two different needs. One, he wanted it to be able to be a script that he could submit me for a show like Fire Country, or Tracker or something like that. But then also a show like Reacher or Peacemaker. That's a hard needle to thread to be both. Those are two very different tones and all that. So we went through a lot of different drafts and eventually got to a point where we were both kind of happy with where the script landed. Then I wound up leaving him and signing with a different manager. And the manager I signed with was like, my team was like, really like this procedural, but it kind of feels like it's trying to be two things. Like, I don't think that it should be trying to be this like dark, cable-y sample. I think that, it's just intended, it should just be the procedural that it was intended to be. And my point is not that my previous manager did anything wrong. That just, he was giving his opinion and that was his strategy. And I don't think that was necessarily bad advice. It's just, I needed to sort of be the CEO of my own work and say, like, it's not supposed to be this darker cable-y thing, and trying to force it to be that, I think is hindering it. It's just supposed to be this procedural sample to try to get me staffed on procedural shows. So again, you just, you have to be the CEO of your own material. So that's getting notes. Now, giving notes. When you're a showrunner, I was a showrunner's assistant, and one of your jobs as a showrunner's assistant is to take notes on the notes calls with the studio and the network or whatever. Because the showrunner is going to turn in material, outlines, story areas, scripts to the studio and the network, and they're going to give notes on those things. So I always had to be on those calls to basically sort of transcribe, their notes. And it wasn't like, it's not like being a court stenographer. It wasn't an exact transcription. It was just so that my showrunner could have the notes and be like, oh yeah, this was their note on that and whatever. And I learned very quickly that there is really an art to giving notes. And some people are really good at it and some people are not. And it was such a relief when we would be on a call with an executive who was good at giving notes, because it made my job so easy to just be like, here's their note, here's our response. When some of the other executives that we were dealing with were not as good at giving notes, and it was just like, they would talk in circles and I'd just be like, oh my God, like it would take 10 minutes for them to get to what their note was. And it just made my job a lot more difficult. But it was, I would say, one of the more educational things I did as an assistant was being on these notes calls. Because I think that the general thought is like network notes or studio notes or whatever are annoying. And I think all notes are like pretty annoying, but they're also valuable and helpful. And I think there's a lot of merit to them So there is sort of this whole like language to giving notes, and I'm going to go through each one of these, and don't feel like you have to write them down, because at the end I'm going to put like a screenshot on this video and just have them all listed so you can see all of them. And again, this is really more to help you, like if you're like, I remember being in college and we would be trying to give each other notes, but it was kind of like the like, I don't know, it's just like it's not really working. Like that's not a note that like a writer can't do anything with that. You need to be more specific than that. And again, there is this sort of language of giving notes that I'm going to go through. So, first thing is bump. A bump is just a general term for meaning I have a note. Like, I don't know, what's bumping me about this scene is whatever, or like, here's my bump. And a lot of times, you just, as the writer getting the note, you have to be able to like say to yourself, all right, what's the note behind the note? Like, what's the bigger thing here that's bumping them? Hang a lantern on it. So hang a lantern on it just mean, a lot of these are kind of self-explanatory, but hang a lantern on it just means like it needs to be more obvious. Um, if it's like, oh, I didn't like quite get this joke that you made here, and it's like, oh, it was a callback to whatever 10 pages earlier. They may say like, oh, then hang a lantern on that. Like, make sure that we really get that that's like that was important or something like that. Not landing is big because it's like what it basically means is like it doesn't make sense, but it's a lot nicer. Like you don't want to just say like this part doesn't make any sense. It's a lot nicer to say like this just like wasn't quite landing for me. It means the same thing, but it just sounds nicer. Tonnage issues. So if you have a lot of like cuss words in your script, or if someone is heavy on the like nicknaming people, like what's up Pinocchio or whatever they like to call people in your script, someone may say it's just a tonnage issue. It's like every time we meet them they have to like make a joke with like a name, or that like you're overusing the word fuck or whatever it is, like a tonnage issue. Buy it back. Buy it back means like it usually refers to like if you're going to do something that makes your character not look great, and if your character is not supposed to be like a bad person, someone may say like, well, can you like buy it back in act 2 or act 3 or whatever. If your character like punched somebody and the feeling is like, I don't know, like that was kind of a dick move to punch that person, I don't think the character would do that, you may say like, well, I could buy it back in act 3 because he reveals that like he lost his mom that day and he was just having a bad day, and under normal circumstances he would never punch that person, but and so the studio may be like, well, if you can buy it back in act 2, then I guess that's fine. Real estate issue, that just refers to like your page count. Like if you are writing a feature, 120 pages is kind of your limit. So or if it's a pilot, generally probably don't want to go over like 60. So someone may say like, I feel like this story is a beat short, and you're like, yeah, it's just a real estate issue. Like I just didn't have room to do another beat on that story. The B side, that's just sort of a general term as far as like a lot scenes will have an A side and a B side. Like the A side of the scene is two people talking, and then we'll go to some other scenes and then come back to the scene for the B side. Backsell. That just means like something happens that doesn't really make sense, and then later on in the script you explain why that happened, or you backsell it. Earned. Pretty common note that people give. Just refers to like it just this beat or this story point or whatever it is just didn't feel earned. Like this person, we have sort of come to know them as like someone who's not really, I don't know why I keep going back to fighting, but someone who's not really a fighter. And then, we're 30 pages into the script or 60 pages of the script, whatever it is. And like all of a sudden they know karate. Like that just that doesn't quite feel earned. make a meal. That's just if something feels like underwritten or you need to put a little bit more like kind of emphasis on something. It's a little different than hang a lantern on, I guess. It's just like, this scene is about an eighth of a page. That needs to be like a full page scene or something. Like make a meal out of it. Like really go to town with that scene. Um, Tracking issue. Yeah, it's like, this just happens. You're like, oh, in this scene it'd be great if this character like uh, their cell phone got broken and they had no way to call for help, and then in the next scene they're talking on their cell phone. That's tracking issue. Protect someone's character. Yeah, it's like if uh, a character is just doing really like shitty things all the time, or like I don't know if it's like a family show and it's like the dad who's supposed to be kind of like uh, the hero of the family. Like if it's like Milo Ventimiglia and This Is Us or whatever, if he goes and like has an affair or sleeps with another woman or whatever, the studio may say like, let's protect his character a little bit. Like I don't think that he would be doing that. Uh, Over the top just means, yeah, it's just too. That's too crazy. It was just a little over the top for me. Like, uh, that person went a little too hard on their rant, or this story point was just a little over the top for me. Step on the reveal. Yeah, it just means you have this big reveal or whatever it is, and like you just kind of stepped on it. Like you blew your gunpowder, you wasted your gunpowder too early, or whatever it is. Like if I don't know, I guess the end of Usual Suspect. Spoiler alert: Kevin Spacey winds up being Kaiser Sose. If I don't know, he's walking out of the police station and someone's like, "Hey, Kaiser," like before you get the big reveal at the end, or if it's like Star Wars and someone says to like Darth Vader, like Luke says to Darth Vader, "Hey, Dad," like that would be stepping on the reveal. Double beat. Double beat just means you kind of have like two scenes or something that are sort of doing the same thing. Like yeah, like this scene just kind of feels like a double beat. Like it feels like we everything we're learning in this scene we already learned it in this previous scene. On the nose, just too direct, no subtext, just it's too on the nose. Mustache twirly. This refers to like a villain if they're just like kind of too villainy, like they just kind of feel like this mustache twirly cartoon villain you would have seen in like an 80s or a 90s cartoon or something. Petting their cat and twirling their mustache. Schmuck bait. Schmuck bait is like it's it's when you like tell a story or something that like lures the audience in and keeps them on the edge of their seat or whatever, it makes them interested, but then in the end it doesn't actually like mean anything. Like a dream would be like if you watch a whole show and then the person wakes up at the end, it was all a dream, like that would just be the ultimate like schmuck bait. Or like if it were like a movie or a show or something about like these two people trying to find like these two like bounty hunters or cops or something trying to find like a suspect, and the whole movie is dedicated to them like trying to find this suspect, but then it turns out that one of the bounty hunters like had the suspect locked in a cell at their house the whole time, and it's like, all right, well then like that movie didn't really mean anything. The whole chase, everything that like the bounty hunter said, like none of that meant anything because the suspect had just been like locked in a cage at the person's house the whole time. Refrigerator logic. Uh, this is something my old boss used to say a lot. Uh, where it was like refrigerator logic. I mean, I guess this is when people used to watch commercials, but it was like something would happen in the show, then the person and the viewer would be like, "Huh, that was crazy," and then they would like go to the refrigerator to get a beer during the commercial break, and when they open the refrigerator, they'd be like, "Wait a minute, that didn't actually make sense," but it made enough sense that it like I don't know that they bought it at first. That's refrigerator logic. It also could Another way to say it is like whistle past the graveyard. That we're just gonna pretend there's not a graveyard here and just whistle past it. And there's probably a lot more of these. These are just the ones I could think of. The last one that I have is someone might say it's so purple. I only ever heard this note one time, but it means like it's just too like sunshine and roses and happy and flowers and ponies and all that stuff. It's so purple. Hopefully this was helpful. I guess in closing, if you get notes, be happy about it because it's a good thing. Be the CEO of your own work. Ultimately, it's up to you unless you're a writer on a TV show, and then the showrunner is the CEO of your work. And if you get a note, once you are done throwing your tantrum about getting the note, ask yourself, is the note right? And keep writing.